Welcome to the show. Glad to have you with us on this Thursday. It's been raining outside, but it was clear when I came in anyway. It started off on my drive in, it was pouring down rain, and by the time I got here, the sun was actually shining. So if things hold up, we'll have South Bend Cubs baseball coming up. And in about 2 hours, the pregame show will begin a little bit sooner than that at around 6:45. Vince, how are you today?
I'm doing great. It's Thursday, which means tomorrow is Friday, which is all so important. It's been a week. I will tell you that. It has been a week coming back from vacation.
I don't really care because I've got big news. I've got big news to share with you.
I like
today.
big news.
This could be the biggest news we've ever had on this show.
Oh my God, I'm excited now.
I know. I don't know if you've seen this or not.
Okay.
And I don't know exactly what your reaction is going to be because honestly, at different points hearing like unofficial, like this and that could happen. I've gone back and forth on it. Just announced today at CinemaCon, Top Gun 3 is officially in the works.
Really?
I feel the need, Vince. I feel the need. The need
for speed, baby.
For speed, baby. It is in the works. And I know, after Maverick came out, you and I were both like, why mess with it? This is a perfect thing.
Yep. Don't
do it. But like after my 500th viewing, quite honestly, on the pay channels, I am just so sucked in. I get a little misty every time when they land on the deck at the end and Warlock is pumping his fist and it's like, come on, Cyclone, just return the salute. Can you return the salute? You're still going to make that face at Maverick after he gives you the salute, but I'm ready, man. I want it. There's a high bar. I don't want him to screw it up, but yeah, I want this. How about you?
I'm conflicted. I really am conflicted. And I go back to the conversation that you and I had after Maverick came out. I don't know where they go from here. I don't know, because I think you and I are both in agreement. While Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick are both really good movies, I feel Top Gun Maverick is a better movie.
I do too. And I've gone back and watched the original, which I used to hold in like very high esteem, and still do to some extent. But like it looks, like from 40 years ago when you watch it now, to be quite honest. But
absolutely,
I do think like as a movie, I think Top Gun Maverick is much better than the original. Like the original is still entertaining. There's a lot of good stuff there.
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like there was the appropriate amount of callback to the original, but the storyline, the characters that were new, all really just as a group, it was a really, really good movie. And I assume the next one they're going to focus on the group a little bit more, and maybe he's going to be
the only confirmed returning actor as of now is Tom Cruise, because of course you can't make a third Top Gun without Tom Cruise. Jerry Bruckheimer, the producer, is back as well. But I have heard, I've heard Glenn Powell in some interviews within the last year saying Cruise has already called and said, it's going to happen. It's official though as of today. You would think that you've got to have Rooster, you've got to have Hangman back, at least those two at the very least, along with Maverick and then whatever else you're going to do. But like what you said, like the sentimentality and the callbacks to the first one were part of what made Maverick so perfect, because you have the parallels and the emotional tug and all that kind of stuff. And that's the only thing that I worry about with them doing 3 is where do you go now? Because you can't just do the same old stuff again. You've got to come up with some new stuff. That's why, where does the story go now? That's what I worry about.
You got to advance the story. You have to advance the story somehow. Obviously, Val Kilmer's not going to be in the movie. But you've got to have, if you're going to make this, Tom Cruise, Miles Teller, Jennifer Connelly, in my opinion, Glenn Powell, they all need to be in this.
Honestly, I think you've got to find a way, even if is Rooster's mom, was she dead in the story? Did they say that?
I want to say yes.
That's what I was thinking.
I believe
even if you have some kind of flashback, it feels like you got to get Meg Ryan in there.
I don't know how they didn't have her in there in the first place. I don't know if she was just too busy, didn't want to do it, or whatever the case may be. Obviously, she's a big time movie star and all those kinds of things. I don't know what that conversation was like, or even if they, went to her. I don't know how they wouldn't. But can we at least agree that Jennifer Connelly has to be back?
She's got to, because she was such an integral part of this last one. And,
and such an upgrade from the first one.
They finished the movie with, them flying around and she shows up, in the perfect Porsche and, the whole thing.
I mean,
they've got to have Jennifer Connelly at this point.
Jennifer Connelly was such an upgrade from the original movie. I mean, she played the part perfectly. It made sense. I mean, they even found a character that was in the first movie that actually it wasn't on screen. I mean, they had a callback to a character and they brought her in. Like, you have to have her in this. You have to have her in this.
Absolutely.
So I'll be very disappointed if that's
Maverick made almost $1.5 billion though. So if you want to know why they're
exactly 100%, yes.
And it's honestly, I think I've told you before, I've seen some of the Mission Impossible, over the years, I've seen some of the Mission Impossibles, but after Maverick came out, the next summer they did a Mission Impossible movie, and then last summer they did, the final quote unquote Mission Impossible movie. But my wife and I got sucked into those just because of loving Top Gun Maverick, and seeing Tom Cruise in those so much, even though we weren't real, again, it's we've seen the Mission Impossibles over the years, but weren't hooked on the franchise. But and it's still within the last couple days, my wife just laughs at me every time, because if Top Gun Maverick, I put up the guide and I start scrolling, and if I see Top Gun Maverick, I'm going to go find it. And from the point where it's, Maverick to range control, confirming point alpha, entering green range, the guy goes, green range confirmed, but I don't see a scheduled event for you, sir. From that point where he's doing that final test run to show that he can do it, with John Hamm standing there with that look on his face. I think that's probably about the last 45 minutes of the movie. I can't stop watching once I get to that point. That is crack for me. It's just a joyride from that point to the end of the movie. So, yeah,
I'm excited about it. Now we're talking about it now, which means we're not going to see the movie for 2 years. I mean, it's going to be a while.
That's what I was thinking. It's 2027. I'm looking at my watch. It's 2026. Probably 2030, by the time they get this thing figured out.
That's a great point, because Maverick got pushed because of COVID,
right?
And all that kind of stuff. And so, we probably forgot about it for a while.
Right.
But yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm in. I'm ready.
I think you and I might have to go see this thing when it finally comes out. We might have to go together. So.
Maybe we do
my wife will kill me. I don't know. Was your wife into Top Gun Maverick?
I had her watch it, and she was into it. She was into it because there's the love story and all that.
It's a double date. It's not like we have to talk obviously during the movie, but we've got to. We'll be there. We'll book our tickets right now. So.
Done.
Yeah, Jim Rome was actually just talking about that. That's where I heard it, and then my fingers just started flying and found all this different information. So it's on. So,
well, speaking of movies, the movie my wife just sent me earlier today, they announced, well, I don't know if they announced it or whatever, but they're starting to do the rounds, on the morning shows and stuff. Fokker-in-Law is coming out.
I saw something about that.
Yeah.
It's been a while since a Fokker came out. So got to be careful.
I know. I was trying to be very careful.
Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro, obviously.
And she sent me the movie poster, and Ben Stiller's gray. Salt and pepper might be a nice way to say it.
Yeah.
But basically it sounds like third generation gonna get hitched up. So
it's salt and pepper, but he's still got more than me on top. So
I'm here for the Fokker franchise. I'm here for it.
Like I said, have they made? I know they've made at least two. Was there a third one as well?
I think so.
There was Meet the Fockers, and then
there was Meet the Parents.
Meet the Parents.
Meet the Parents was first. Meet the Fockers was second.
That's what it was. Yeah. Right.
All right. And then this one. So.
All right. Very good. So. Yeah. USMA 87 says Meg Ryan is a mess now. Well, I
don't know.
Give her a nice role in a big Hollywood movie, and maybe that'll help straighten her up. I don't know.
I know she's behind the scenes now. She does a lot of directing, things like that. I don't think she's been in a movie in a while. I don't know if she's a mess or not. You got me on that one.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, so Top Gun Maverick is in the works, and we'll see. Again, I'd probably put it at 3.5 years before we actually see it, but
it's going to be a while. We'll have this conversation a long ways into the future. Be like a graduation present.
When I'm in the retirement home, you can come and we can watch.
I'll bust you out.
Yeah,
it'll be fun.
All right, how about some basketball news? The men's basketball team, Notre Dame men's basketball team, got its second transfer portal commitment today. 6'5" guard Ethan Roberts. He averaged 16.8 points at Penn this past season. Not the Penn that you see on Vince's shirt, not the high school here locally, but the Penn Quakers of the Ivy League. He's played a total of 3 seasons, 2 at Penn, 1 at Army, where he actually started his career before heading off to the Ivy League. He scored over 1,200 points. He was second team All Ivy, pretty good 3-point shooter, around 39% from the arc. So this is commitment number 2 for Notre Dame men's basketball. What'd you think when you saw this news?
I saw that he came from the Ivy League, and I was like, yeah, that tracks. Like, that's, Winthrop and the Ivy League. Like, that's on par with what they were doing last year. Northern Arizona, and, it's like, okay, like this is what I anticipate. The difference is you don't have Jalen Harrelson and Marcus Burton already on the roster.
Go with them.
And you're supplementing with these guys.
You're replacing them with this guy.
This is your core that you're going to get.
And look, I don't want to be Danny Downer, but
well, you can be.
Not a lot of athleticism that from the highlights that I saw. The guy can shoot, but
sure,
he's an Ivy League guy.
Yeah.
So and that's what the roster is. With the exception of the guys that they just lost, that's what the roster lacks.
And we talked about this with Tom Noy. Like he basically said, watch where these kids are going to be coming from that are coming to Notre Dame, and you're going to see a pattern. And the pattern is very clear. The pattern is clear.
The pattern is not full.
No.
That's what it is. So they got a 6'10" guy from Winthrop, Big South Player of the Year. They got a second team All Ivy League shooter in Ethan Roberts, and they're still kind of based on some of the names that I've seen, like those are tracking in a very similar fashion. It sounds so.
Yep,
got to build a roster, I guess.
And this is what you're going to get. It's going to be like the Ivy League All-Star team.
That's about right.
I mean, the FBS / Ivy League All-Star team. Like, I know there's no FBS in basketball. I get it. But, like, that's what we're talking about, though. You know what I mean? It's the lower level leagues. And like you said, the kid that they got from Winthrop, Player of the Year in his conference. Yippee! That's like, who was the MVP of the JV league? Well, let's get him.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to disparage this kid. I'm sure he's a great ball player and all those things, but like, this is who you're going to get with the way things are.
Yeah, it's great moves for them. Can it move the needle for Notre Dame and help them climb the standings in the ACC? TBD, but that's just like you said. Like this is the caliber of play. Now, if they could have kept Marcus Burton and either or Serta or Harrelson,
right,
then the complexion changes quite a bit. But that's not what you've got. And in the meantime, Harrelson committed to Tennessee yesterday. I think it was one of those right after the show ended. He commits to Tennessee. So Jalen Harrelson's got a new home in the meantime, and a team that went to the NCAA tournament this year.
I'm not overly surprised about that. And going to the SEC where the money is aplenty.
Yes. I didn't get to mention this yesterday. This happened before the show yesterday, but pretty cool that a couple of Notre Dame alums and sisters are going to be reunited in the WNBA, at least for training camp. Dara Mabry, who just finished up at Notre Dame a couple of years ago, she signed a training camp contract with the Toronto Tempo, one of the WNBA's expansion teams, and Marina Mabry just landed in Toronto. So you're going to have a couple Mabry sisters joining forces. First time they'll get a chance to play together. They never got a chance to play together in college. Marina and Michaela Mabry, who of course is on the staff now at Notre Dame. They played together. They overlapped for a little bit. And then with Michaela Mabry on the staff, Dara was on the team, when she was at Notre Dame. So this will be the first Dara Marina combo. So kind of cool up there in Toronto. See how it works out. And hopefully Dara's able to stick. She's been playing overseas the last couple of years. I think it was Turkey last year and Greece this year. Is where she was playing. So getting a crack at potentially making a WNBA roster for the first time, because she was still recovering from that ACL at the end of her career, like when her career ended a few years ago.
I need a flow chart of Mabry sisters to keep everybody straight.
I know, right?
I need a visual so I can keep it all straight. But no, that's really cool. And obviously there's 2 expansion teams for the WNBA, and then they've got 3 more planned like for the following 3 years, one each year.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really kind of spreading like wildfire, and the contracts are bigger, and
I hope that works out. I hope it's not too much too soon adding all these teams, but
they're getting after it,
because there's been so much, because the Connecticut Sun, for example, I guess are moving to Houston next year as well, which seems there was talk initially about someone trying to move the Sun to Boston. So, they could play in Boston, but I guess that fell through and they're going to Houston.
So the Houston franchise where are they at now? Where did they go?
I don't know. Because there are a few that have, moved around and bounced. And
I want to say they went to Seattle, but I don't know.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. There was the Cleveland Rockers several years back, and Cleveland is one of the, cities that's going to get an expansion team next year. So this will, there are a few cities are getting their second crack at this thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Jerez Bear, thank you for the super chat in the YouTube side. He says, I never get to see Vincent Shaw live anymore because I'm at work, but I'm at a doctor's appointment today. So let's go. Yes. Let's go. That's right. Wake up your doctor. Tell him that you got to keep your YouTube on. And don't forget, you can watch this show live on YouTube, whether it's the Irish Breakdown channel or the Sports Radio WSBT channel. You can find it there. You can interact with the show in that fashion, just like Jerez Bear did, if I'm reading that right. Did you see that Noah Grubbs to Kadon Finley one-handed touchdown catch on social media the other day?
I meant to look it up and I didn't, because I saw the rundown and I didn't have a chance to look it up, so I did not see it. But it had to be amazing if you're bringing it up.
Spectacular. There's so much talent in that wide receiver room right now. It's insane.
Yeah. No, we talked about in the mailbag yesterday, what position group, where is there not enough footballs to go around? I mean, we mentioned the wide receiver room. I really do think the wide receiver room may be the leader in the clubhouse for that question.
I think so.
There's a bunch of talent in that room, man. And they're just not enough reps to go around. Unless they're going to go 5 wide, like, Mississippi Valley State or whatever it was in Varsity Blues.
Yeah.
You overload them on one side, go 1-on-1 on the other.
Uh-huh.
I don't think they're going to go 5 wide, but, it's just, there's so many good players. This day and age, they're probably going to leave some of them, but, hopefully they can hold on to them as best they can.
Jersey Bear is what he said. All right. Good deal. Good to have you. Appreciate you dropping the line and that super chat getting in here today. Okay. Well, we started the show with the biggest news of the century, Top Gun 3 in the works. Let's take a quick break. When we come out, we're going to finish this hour with some football talk right up Vince's alley. Special teams, not just any football talk. You're going to hear from special teams coordinator Marty Biagi about a lot of different things. So that is coming up next. And we will take our break right now. Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. We continue Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. Suddenly, Vince is sitting in a nice little spring knoll.
Didn't realize we were coming back quite that quick. I was just playing around with the camera. You know, that's what happens during the break. I get bored.
That's right. I looked up and I was like, what just happened on Vince's screen there? He's playing around with the back.
You know.
Oh, we were just talking about, that catch, the catch made by Kadon Finley. And, of course, it was thrown by Noah Grubbs. And Josh doesn't want people sleeping on Grubbs. He says it wouldn't surprise him if he ends up being second string. I think it's hard to sleep on him right now because we just haven't had a chance to get, really eyeballs in anything competitive. That's what I'm curious to see what kind of, what his snaps look like when we get to see the Jersey scrimmage this Saturday. And, we'll get to see him at least to some extent in the blue gold game a week from Saturday. And I didn't even mention that, of course. We'll have that broadcast here on Sports Radio, WSBT 96.1 FM, 960 AM here in town. All right. I want to make sure that we get to these Marty Biagi because I feel like there's some juice to squeeze.
I got questions. I need answers, Sean Stiers.
All right. So does that mean you've seen the rundown and you kind of know what's coming here? I consider this Vince D'Addario day because, we get to talk about kickers and punters.
It's funny. As I was reading the rundown, you had that written in there, and I'm like, where's it going with this? Like, why is it Vince D'Addario day? Like, it's very confused. And then I realized where we're talking about, and I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
Yes. So a lot of kicker talk, and I got to there weren't a whole lot of people huddled around Marty Biagi when we got to talk to him last week, and I got to throw a lot of the kicker stuff at him, kickers and punters and everything else. I think let me actually look 1, 2. I think it was me and Drew Mentok were the two that were asking him the majority of these questions that you're going to hear the answers to today. So, of course, the last couple years, the two transfer kickers, Noah Burnett and Mitch Jeter, had the leg injuries after arriving at Notre Dame. So I asked Biagi if, when you look at that, have they changed anything in terms of workloads, practice routines, or any of that kind of stuff for their kickers as a result? And here is Marty Biagi's response to that.
Those were more specific injuries. Mitch literally was a freak accident on the kickoff, so it wasn't like a load management issue. And then Noah, when he came in, he kind of had a nagging injury that just, we kept trying to hope would heal. So we were trying to give him more rest. But we kind of build out already our plan, and so we know the volume, and then we tweak it or adjust. But Spencer, he said, he feels really confident in terms of his rep count right now.
Okay, Vince, so there you go. What'd you think of Marty Biagi's response? You got that scrunched up look on your face.
Well, I guess I don't care about the past, like what happened as far as like why they were hurt, how they got hurt or whatever. And you can't predict injuries and things like that. He said that Noah came in with the injury. That worries me a little bit because, did you not do your homework? Did you not realize he was injured? I know it's not like the NFL where you do a physical again before you come in, but
I think from kind of what we've heard, I don't think it was completely disclosed that he had the injury.
Right.
I think that was part of the deal.
And like I said, that's a little worrisome, right? Again, you don't do a physical like we see in the NFL. If somebody fails a physical, like the trade doesn't go through, like the Max Crosby to the Ravens. Remember that? His didn't go through. I don't know how you circumvent that. But that's disturbing that whether it's on Noah's part or whether it was on Notre Dame's part, that they didn't know he had an injury coming in, that's not great. What I will say is Spencer Porath is built physically different than the last two guys. He's a little thicker, a little stronger. Mm-hmm. That doesn't necessarily prevent you from, getting a leg injury or a ligament or things like that. But I feel like he's built to last a little more.
If they have another kicker with an injury like that this year, then to me, it's you can say whatever you want about, this guy had something coming in and this happened on a specific, if you have a third kicker
in a row,
because think about the last 20 years, how many kickers with leg injuries have there been? Very small, especially guys who have been impacted the way those two guys were impacted the last 2 seasons. So if you have a third guy, you've got a lot of alarm bells, and you very seriously have to reevaluate how you're doing things if that's the case. I don't think you can write off 3 as, all of them fluke, completely separate at that point.
And he didn't really answer the question about have you changed like the workload or how you guys prepare or anything like that. He just said, yeah, Spencer's real happy with his reps. Like that does really.
Now, I know one of these cuts, he does say they don't kick every day in the spring, so it's not like they're just out there swinging their leg all the time and stuff like that. They're doing other stuff. So, yeah.
I mean, that's good, obviously. And they, like, the school that my kid goes to, there's one field. And so when they're having a regular practice, unless they're doing PAT or punt, like they don't get to kick. You know what I mean? Like they come out before practice and they do their stuff and then they kick during their session. And then they're on the sideline watching. At Notre Dame, there's 4 fields. And so there's always a field dedicated to kickers and punters and snappers. And so you can get carried away with way too much. And so I feel like they need to be very cognizant and be like, guys, stop it. Come over here and do something. You know what I mean? Like, because look, they're teenagers. They're going to go and they're, hey, man, we got an open field. Let's go kick. You that kind of a thing.
Doing something all the time. That's right.
Exactly. And
I mean, you can even do dry kicks, just to like get in the mental
100%. There's a million different things,
that kind of stuff.
Million different things you can do instead of actually full blown kicking. And again, we're not at every practice. I'm not saying that I know what happens at every single practice, but the practices that we are at, they're always on a field by themselves kicking. And so it just leads me to believe they kick a lot. You know what I mean? And so that was a little bit like, I don't know about that, but if he's saying they're not kicking every day, I'll take his word for it because we're not there. So, and they shouldn't be kicking every day.
I agree. I totally agree. How about the new Australian, Vince's favorite topic, Jasper Scaife? How has his transition gone? How's his transition gone to American football so far?
Done a really good job coming in and adapting, learning the game, and now we're teaching him more situations and scenarios. And so, he's done a really good job getting acclimated, even with pads and helmet and everything. You even see, nothing has really phased him. So he's doing a really good job just with his performance.
Situations and scenarios, I think, has to be the biggest thing. You're just not going to buy anything this guy is saying.
Oh, I'm buying it. It's not that I'm not buying it. It's just his choice of vocabulary concerns me at times. You know what I mean? Like, you just gave this guy, a 4-year scholarship and probably a ton of money. And you basically just told me he's never had a shoulder pad or a helmet on before. Like,
well, neither did Rendell. Neither did most of these guys.
Well, exactly. And he was terrible in year 1. Like, that's what worries me. Like, I hope they're not putting all the eggs in the Jasper Scaife basket in year 1. That's all I'm saying. That's my only point.
Well, I mean, they do have an insurance policy, and we'll hear about Erik Schmidt here in a minute or two. But there is at least competition there between Schmidt
and that's what Schmidt told me when I interviewed him. He said it's an all-out competition for punter, which I'm happy about. I hope that's accurate. I hope that's true. That's all I'm saying. I hope it's true.
All right. Josh is asking. He said, I thought they had a concert that day. They do. We're talking about the scrimmage. There is a scrimmage Saturday. It will not be in Notre Dame Stadium. It will be inside the practice facility. But there is a Jersey scrimmage, and the media it'll be obviously not open to the public, but the media is going to be able to watch. I am curious, like friends and family and all that kind of stuff, and what the balcony looks like up there and how crowded it is, and those kind of things. Nothing we can do about that, but we'll be able to watch. There will be live scrimmaging that we're going to be able to watch, and we'll be talking about it next Monday as well. So, yes.
Can't wait. I'll probably grill you Saturday afternoon to figure out what you guys saw, because I will be very intent to see how this thing goes. So, yeah.
Yeah, so there is a scrimmage. Again, it won't be inside Notre Dame Stadium because
it is supposed to rain. Yeah, and it's also supposed to rain
and it is
all morning. So they probably would have moved it inside regardless, because it is supposed to rain all morning.
Right. All right, so how about simulating game situations, stadium environment, that kind of thing for Jasper Scaife, since, again, he is coming over from Australia, hasn't played in an actual football game before. He has played Australian rules football before, but not American football. But how do you simulate, that like the actual being in a game before he's played in a game?
We'll do a lot in the spring game, or in the spring, even in not just the spring game, but our jersey scrimmage, different scrimmage situations. We'll use crowd noise. We'll use different kind of sudden change elements or practice reps to try and get him ready for that. So the good part is for him, he has played at the professional level. So he's played actually in, there's the stadium. Even when I was over there was 100,000 stadium capacity that I didn't see him play, of course, but there was a team there that, he was like, I'm used to playing in those big arenas. So
different sport, but still.
Exactly. So that's what you like about that competitiveness, is he's already kind of been on a higher a higher scale of competition.
Okay, Vince, is that satisfactory?
I didn't make a face that time on purpose. There's no faces to be made.
You covered your mouth up, though, with your hand, so I couldn't tell.
That's my thinking pose. Look, there's nothing that you can do to prepare him. Everything that they're doing is spot on. Those are all the things that you do. You try to prepare it as much as possible. Luckily, game one is going to be at Lambeau, which is going to be completely different than opening up at Texas A&M. It's just a completely different scenario.
And Rendell, for the situation, handled that, I think, as well as you could.
I completely agree.
Same situation.
Completely agree. And I just, there's really nothing you can do until he's in that moment. And you hope that you have prepared him mentally enough that that's not going to take over and affect him and everything else. There's nothing else they can do. So I'm not critical of anything at this point about that, because there's really nothing you can do to prepare for that moment. I guess what I will say is I hope they don't overcomplicate the situation. Just keep it simple, man. Snap it to him, let him kick the crap out of the ball.
I think that was the biggest issue with Rendell, as we've talked about the whole first year. It wasn't just that he was new to football. It just felt like they were asking him to do too many specific things rather than just punt the ball, because it felt like that's what they let him do last year. Just let that big leg rip, because he was very accurate, as we saw from the first time that we got to see him punt in a practice. And, Johnny says plenty of Aussie punters have done great in the college game. Rendell might be an outlier. I just think he was an outlier because they were asking him they were, like you said, overcomplicating things, asking him, to do the rugby style punts and, all those different things, rather than just snap him the ball, try to pin him as deep as possible. It really didn't have to be much more complicated than that. And that's what it seemed like they were doing more times than not last year, just letting him do that. And hopefully they do that with Scaife.
And he was super successful in year two. You know what I mean? He went from really inconsistent year one to really consistent year two. And I think it just takes a little bit of time. To expect him to come in and be a Pro Bowl type punter, I think it's unrealistic. You know what I mean? And that's why you want to keep it as simple as you possibly can. Just like if you had a rookie quarterback, you don't give him the whole playbook. You keep it simple. That's what I'm hoping for. I think they overcomplicated things in Rendell's first year. And then I think they uncomplicated things in year number two. Yeah. There was only a couple times they asked him to do something different, and you and I both looked at each other like, well, what are they doing? Right. Because he was super good at just snap, catch, kick. You know what I mean? What are you doing?
Yep. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so they do have another transfer portal kicker this year. It is Spencer Porath, coming over from Purdue, where he played for 2 seasons there, kicked for 2 seasons there. How has Porath looked this spring?
Done a really good job in terms of his ball flight, his consistency, feeling fresh. He's really coming and gelled with the guys. He has a mindset on the days that we do kick, because we don't kick every single day in the spring. You can see a clear on and off switch of when he's locked in and needs to be versus, okay, this is the time I can just kind of be, low key. And so what you see probably is some game experience and confidence that's really encouraging.
So there you heard the "we don't kick every single day in the spring" comment. from.
I like how he dropped that in there for people like me. So I appreciate that, Marty. I
needed to hear it.
I have the utmost confidence in Spencer Porath. So I'm sure he kind of has his way of doing things. And we've seen the success that he's had on the field, in game situations. He's kicked field goals at Notre Dame. I mean, I think he had more field goals in Notre Dame Stadium than Notre Dame had last year. So I have full faith in Spencer Porath to be just fine kicking the football.
I mean, he made all 9 of his field goals under 40 yards last year. He was 2 of 3 from 50 plus with a long of 53. Very consistent. He has made, I think it's 41 extra points, all 41 extra points that he has attempted in his career. So he's been really consistent. And you literally take a really good kicker from in-state, from a really bad team. He transfers over to Notre Dame. And, so you add what you hope is going to be someone who's going to be a heck of a lot more consistent than anything that we saw last year. Because I don't think any of us ever thought we would ever see anything that looked like that from a Notre Dame kicking situation.
Yeah, I mean, he was 3 for 3 at Notre Dame when they played Notre Dame, and his long was 48 yards. And he had 12 points. So he had 3 field goals and 3 PATs. So he was perfect on the day. So he'll be just fine at Notre Dame Stadium, I have a feeling.
So you heard in that cut, if you were listening closely, Marty Biagi said there's kind of a switch that flips for Spencer Porath at practice. So what does that look like?
Truly his mentality or approach, on a day where he's going to get his work in versus, okay, this is a day it might just be more drill work emphasis, but he knows when we're going to do reps that could come up throughout the different periods of practice. He's very locked in, practicing like a pro to prepare for that rep. So I really feel like you see more of, not necessarily the word gamer mentality, but you see the locked in approach of the peak and valley, because we don't want our guys to just be here all the time. We're trying to teach them the ebb and flow, with our specialists, because it's kind of, you could be up and then actually have to perform. You could be up, then back down based on the play of the game.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't, got to see we haven't seen one of these practices where the kickers go out and all of a sudden there's a 10-minute period where, all the kickers are kicking. And like, I was trying to kind of visualize and think about some of those past days where we have seen some of that. And
I haven't seen any of that yet.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what this looks like for Porath specifically, just because, you think, okay, maybe those guys didn't have the kind of focus that they had to have, because we saw, because again, like even in camp last year, we were seeing balls drift and stuff like that.
It was ugly.
What is going on, man?
It was ugly.
Just center this thing up. You're not that far away.
Yeah, no, it was ugly. And if you're telling me that Noah Burnett was injured coming in, then that kind of tells me something as to why things may not have gone as well as they maybe should have at that moment. But I'm not surprised that Spencer Porath can turn it on when he needs to turn it on, turn it off when he needs to turn it off, because he's been down this road before. This is what he does, and he's been successful at it. He was one of the lone bright spots at Purdue as far as football is concerned, right? So, when you're the dude and when you're the bright spot, like, people are always looking to you to be successful. And he was. I have no doubt that he'll be successful at Notre Dame as well. And, practice for a kicker is weird. And Marty kind of touched on that, right? There's days where you literally don't really do anything. And then there's days where, there's going to be a period where you're going to come kick, or maybe you're part of the little scrimmage time where if there's a score, you run out and kick the PAT, or maybe you kick a field goal if they get to 4th down or things like that. It's just like a game. You got to be ready to go at a moment's notice.
Say that's part of your mental focus as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. 100%. And so that doesn't surprise me that he's kind of locked in. It's funny because Marty is really praising that piece for Spencer Porath. It makes me wonder how things have been going in past years.
I know.
Where like this is sticking out this year. You know what I mean? Like, that's worrisome, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
I don't know in the recruiting process, I don't know how you vet something like that specifically. What are you going to do? Like, are you locked in? Like, how do you lock in? And, how do you figure that out when you're talking to these guys? Because all you know that you can. Like, you look at what they've done on a stat sheet.
Yep.
And then, you look at them, what it looks like. You dial up, you find their kicks and stuff like that. You can, physically see what they look like as a kicker, but I don't know how you bet that part.
The only way, in my opinion, and I'm just sitting down thinking about this right now, the kicking community is a pretty tight-knit community. Kind of everybody knows everybody kind of a deal.
Yeah.
Especially
and this is why
level.
Vince picks everybody. But yeah, go ahead.
But like I can envision like coaches calling coaches and like, hey, what have you seen from this kid? That kind of like, now there's definitely the mentality of kicking with sticks in shorts and a t-shirt, and then kicking in a game and kicking at practice and things like that. So you definitely want to pick the brain of somebody that has seen them in the game, has seen them at practice and things like that. Not necessarily like the Coles and the Sailors and all these other places where you're just kicking off of sticks, not really a lot of pressure, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I feel like they're talking to coaches and things of that nature.
Decaf asking in the YouTube chat who the holder is. I don't know.
It's a great question.
Yeah, again, maybe an answer that we get when we get out there to the Jersey scrimmage.
Yeah,
I expect to see at least some extra points kicked out
Absolutely.
there. Yeah.
No, 100%. I know there was some competition with a few different guys, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the answer. Because I know the Reset kid really wanted to do it, and he was but now he transferred out, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So obviously it's not going to be him.
So Buckner's gone. So,
and I'm not a fan of backup quarterbacks as holders because they don't get to practice enough, in my opinion, with the specialists. So
unless it's the third string guy, I don't, like
if it's the
guy, maybe I don't know,
scout team guy.
That's a good point. A lot of times it's like the backup punter because you expect him to have good hands, or even the punter, because you expect him to have good hands. So,
and that's the hard part, obviously. And I don't want to go down too much into the weeds, but this is a hard part of bringing Aussies in because you're asking them to learn how to punt, and then you'd also ask them to learn how to hold. It's a lot, that's a lot to put on the plate. So I don't think it'll be Jasper Scaife. It could be Erik Schmidt. I suppose that's a possibility, or just somebody down the depth chart a little bit so they can actually be with the specialists when the rest of the team is doing other stuff.
One more from Marty Biagi on Spencer Porath, the Purdue transfer kicker. I asked him if Porath is going to be handling all the kicking duties this year, both kickoffs and the place kicking.
Not right now. We haven't made any decisions in that regard. So, but it's something that he has the capability to kick off if need be. Erik has a very strong leg as well as we've seen, and so we'll just keep battling and seeing how that competition goes.
Okay, Vince. So, do you want him doing it all, or would you rather him just handle field goals and extra points? What do you think about this?
If you have the ability and the means to have three guys doing the three different types of kicking, punting, kickoff, and place kicking, do it. Like, that's where I'm at, because all three of them are different, and it takes different form and different technique and all those different things. So if you can keep guys locked into one job, that is what I would prefer. Now, guys have been successful doing all three before. The Fitzpatrick kid, when he was at Notre Dame, punted, kicked off, and place kicked, under Weiss. It could be done. It's really hard to do that. High school kids do it all the time. But I think once you get to this level, if you can focus on one, I think that's ideal.
I mean, in Schmidt, like if there was one aspect of the kicking game, I'm taking the punting out of it, fucking place kicking and kickoffs. If there was one aspect that was actually really good and consistent, it was Schmidt doing the kickoffs.
Agreed. Like you said, he does have a big leg. He can put it where you need him to put it. I would love to see him as the kickoff guy, Porath as the place kicker. And I know I said I want him to be patient and everything, all that, but that if you have Scaife as the punter, then you got all three guys doing one thing.
Very true. Very true. Okay. Final comment from Marty Biagi, and it is on the third of the kickers that we haven't heard about yet. Erik Schmidt, who of course, was a great punter. I believe you've said the top-rated punter in the country coming out of high school. He was the backup last year, and as we said, handled kickoff duties, also did some place kicking when things got a little bit crazy there midway through the season. But what is Erik Schmidt's focus right now?
Right now at both and competing at both, and so for that standpoint, he's probably the one. He is right now the one on our team that could do all three. He could punt, kick off, and do field goals if need be. So just we'll continue to look at that and then make a decision in August.
Feels a little bit, again, this is spring, and that's kind of how I posed it to him. It's very early, but just sort of what they're thinking. It feels a little bit like Schmidt is sort of the emergency guy for maybe at least two of the three right now. I guess we'll see.
He's the backup, basically. I think he's the backup kicker. I think he's probably going to end up being the backup punter. I don't really have a feeling either way on that, good, bad, or indifferent. And again, I'd love to see him as the kickoff guy so that he's actually locked in and in tune to games and things of that nature, right? But he can do all three. In order of like what I'd like to see him doing, I'd like to see him a kickoff, then punt, then place kick. Like that's, I think, the order of operations for him.
And that's so. If he's the number one punter, do you want him just focusing on that? If he does end up being number one,
if he's the number one punter, I wouldn't mind him kicking off as well, because you don't do that back to back. You don't punt and then kick off.
That's true.
But
they are different leg swings. That's why
they're different. They are different leg swings, but they're more similar even than place kicking and kicking off. Like those are so different with the way that you do it. And you go from an extra point or a field goal straight to a kickoff, right? So they're like back to back. And so if you can find somebody else to kick off and place kick, I think that's where you're best off. Because there's lots of punters even in the NFL that kick off. So that's what I would do. I would have him do punts and kickoffs if he wins the punting job.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like that would be the best situation.
Yeah.
And if I think circling back to kind of what you were talking about, I think the perfect scenario is if Scaife is good enough to be the punter consistently. Yep. You have him doing that. You have Schmidt handling the kickoffs, and then you have Porath as your place kicker doing field goals and extra points. That seems like the ideal scenario.
And that's your trio for the next 2 years too, because they all have eligibility after this year. So if you lock that in for 2 straight years, then we're not even having this conversation next year. You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, well, they did a great job last year. They're just going to roll right into the following year.
If you're Schmidt though, and you're thinking about your future, are you content with just doing that if you've got these other guys in those other spots?
It's a great question. I think that's an individual question for him. Like if he's the starting kickoff guy, you're a starter. Like you are a starter on the Notre Dame football team that has the ability to win the national championship. Some guys are going to be completely content with that. And you get your degree and all of the other things, right? Mm-hmm. Does he want to be the starting punter? All of those kinds of things. He didn't see, when I talked to him earlier in the spring, he didn't seem like he was all that shaken up by not being a kicker anymore. Like, because on his placard, it said punter. Like, it didn't even say punter /
really?
kicker.
Like the little thing that they put on the table there in front of him?
It said
Erik Schmidt, punter.
Yep. It didn't even have anything else on there. He said to me, you get more pub if you're scoring points and it's cooler and all that kind of stuff. He's like, but I was a punter first, like that kind of stuff. And so, as long as I think he's able to compete for the punt job and maybe be the starting kicker or starting kickoff guy, I think he'd be okay. Again, that's more of a personal question for him, but there's nothing wrong with being the starting kickoff guy, on a national championship team. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. I mean, you win a national championship, you still get that ring no matter what. The rest of your life, you can always say, from the national championship
I was
team.
A starter, I was out there every day, every game doing my thing. So, I think you can be content with that. I really do.
Johnny says, so now we know that Vince hates Aussies. I mean, I think we've always known that. I don't think it was just today.
I love a good bloomin' onion, though.
Have you ever had Vegemite?
I have never had Vegemite. It does not sound appetizing.
I haven't either, and I've heard that it is just awful. It just looks like black tar on a piece of toast. Like
it does not sound
why?
good at all.
Why? Like, how do these
Right.
you literally feels like would have to chase it, with a beer to
Right.
Oh,
it doesn't sound appetizing.
Patrick says Crocodile Dundee over Maverick. Come on.
Oh, come on now. Now he's just poking the bear now.
Schmidt did. I remember you sent me that, where you were talking to Schmidt. I should have seen if I could have found that for today. He actually seemed like he was excited that someone was there, peppering him with.
It wasn't a whole lot of people wanting to do it. And you know me, I'm not really one to go up to somebody and start asking them questions. I'll just slide the recorder in and just get the audio. But he looked so lonely over there, and I was like, you know what? I could talk to a punter and a kick. Like, I could talk to this guy.
I got to fill this void.
Yeah, it wasn't a long interview, but it was enough that I think he felt good.
All right, so that is all we've got from Marty Biagi, Notre Dame special teams coordinator. All the kicking you would ever want to hear. Like, I wonder how many other
show ever,
like shows that cover other schools. How many are dialing in on the kicking game for a full segment like that?
Not enough is the answer. Not enough.
Right. That's right. You got all the kicking you wanted and more. I did find it pretty telling that the people in the YouTube chat, while we were talking about kickers and punters, there was a lot of quarterback conversation going on.
I mean, look, it's the reality of being a fan of special teams. It's just, you're just not going to be in the majority. It just is what it is. They're the first ones to get blamed. It is what
and remember yesterday I was asking you Aaron Henry or Charlie Partridge is your choice for today. I totally forgot that I had the Marty Biagi that I was sitting on.
I mean, that would have been the choice.
I've got the Biagi. I can't let this pass, all this kicking talk without Vince. So
you can't do that with Jesse. I mean, Jesse's knowledgeable enough. Don't get me wrong, but I would have felt offended if you had this show with Jesse. I really would.
Exactly. So. And as soon as I remembered I had Biagi, kind of sitting there in my back pocket, I was like, all right, it's
go time
day on the show. That's right.
Love it.
That's
Love
right.
It.
Kicking and Top Gun all in one hour.
What else could?
What do you want, people? Come on.
God, I don't know if we're giving what the people want, but you definitely gave me what I want, so I appreciate that.
Yep. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we will venture beyond kickers and punters. We have more Notre Dame football talk. We've got receivers. We've got other stuff coming up in hour number 2. We call it rapid fire, so a lot of different topics coming up before South Bend Cubs baseball beginning in about 45 minutes with Vince D'Addario, Sean Stiers. Rapid fire is on the way. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Hour 2 of Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. And, that means it is time for Rapid Fire. Vince, did you complete the assignment during the break? Oh, hang on. You're
assignment completed. Ready to roll.
Here we
it's
go.
There. You can.
Here we go, baby. Something I didn't realize was happening today, but the South Bend Cubs in their game tonight, which you'll hear here on Sports Radio WSBT, are wearing Notre Dame inspired uniforms this evening. They got green hats on, a shamrock on the sleeve. They look pretty sharp. Gold South Bend in script with green trim on the front. Stymie just saw them as well. I just saw this during the break as well. Vince is showing them right now on the YouTube screen. So if you're listening on the radio and you want to see what they look like, you can go to the South Bend Cubs Twitter page if you want, or you can see them in the YouTube screen. What do you think? Scale of 1 to 10, I'd give them a solid 9, I think.
I would agree with you. I like the gold background. These are way better than the Bend uniforms, in case anybody wants to know.
Why don't the Bend uniforms look like this with the gold and the green? These are
seriously.
I don't mind the black Bend uniforms the way you do, but I think that these this is a good look. Right.
These are better. I like the white. With the gold. Like, that's a good look, man. Like, I'm generally a fan of white uniforms, and but with the gold and everything, it really pops. With the green outline, like, this is somewhat reminiscent of like the white jerseys that Notre Dame had with like the green numbers. Remember back in the Sugar Bowl?
Yeah,
kind of get that vibe to it. But I dig it, and I do like the fact that the South Bend Cubs are kind of leaning in to Notre Dame. Long time coming, frankly.
It's a good idea. Because you'll see major league teams do like a hat night for different colleges and stuff like that.
Right,
like the Chicago Cubs will do like a Northwestern themed hat or an Illinois themed hat, that kind of thing. And very, very good idea. Very cool. I don't think they might have done something like this before, but I don't remember.
I don't remember. Now, I'm not at every South Bend Cubs game, obviously, but I don't remember.
But you have social media, and they'd be sharing it on social media if they've done it in the past.
Exactly.
So. USMA 87 says $125 for the jersey, by the way. I don't know if I'd pay that much, but it's
a little pricey.
Nice looking jersey. Yeah.
A little pricey for my taste, but we do carry the South Bend Cubs games, and it'll be on in about a half hour. Like,
yep.
I feel like they should throw one our way. I'm just going to say it.
I feel like that's a good call. I wonder if Brendan and Tyler are going to be wearing them during the game tonight over there at 4 Winds Field.
I think a couple of XLs coming our way would really heighten the brand a little bit.
I think you're right. I mean, a lot of visual here on the YouTube side of things. So
I would absolutely wear that. I think it's a good look.
Faux show. All right. Let's do some more topics, or I guess our first actual topic. Fill in the blank. It's blank. Then in a poll of Notre Dame defensive backs in their most recent session with the media, Bubba Frazier, freshman receiver for the Fighting Irish, was the most mentioned when those Notre Dame defensive backs were asked who the toughest Irish receiver has been to defend this spring.
I'll just say it's surprising because, nobody's talking about Bubba Frazier getting into the rotation. Okay. And so, and I don't think he's going to, but the fact that he's the toughest to defend, that's saying something. And it just, how do I want to say, what's the word I'm looking for? Not reinstates, reinforces. That's what I want. It just reinforces what we were talking about earlier about the wide receiver room being deep and talented.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about Jadon Finley, and, we've heard all the stuff about Mylan Graham and Micah Gilbert and all these other guys, and, like Jerome Bettis Jr., like, Burris, go down the list, all these other guys
that
we've talked about. And Bubba Frazier's not really one who came up. And now it just piques my curiosity even more, again, for like what we're going to get to see potentially when we get to see the jersey scrimmage on Saturday. Closed door jersey scrimmage, just to remind everybody, not open to the public, but the media is going to get to watch. And then we get to talk about it and write about it and all that kind of good stuff afterwards. But And like, this is a guy out of Georgia, shifty slot receiver type guy. He's like the classic, when you think of a slot receiver, I think he's kind of what you think about, sudden explosiveness and movement and all that kind of stuff. And hopefully some good hands. Again, we'll see if he gets any balls thrown his way out there, but I'm excited to see him. And it feels like if your guys, like starting type guys, are saying that about a freshman like that, it feels like he's got to see some action at some point. Doesn't mean he's going to see it right away, but again, like the depth and the talent in that receiver room just feels endless right now, after it felt like a pit of despair just a couple of years ago at some points.
Seriously. I'm very excited about this receiver room. All the fans should be excited about this receiver room. And, we don't get a whole lot of highlights sent our way, but obviously we're seeing a lot of receiver highlights, I feel like. And there's a reason for that.
Let me ask you this, though. Frazier's wearing number 4 this year. Offensive side of the ball, obviously.
Right.
Who wore number 4 last year?
Jeremiah Love.
Jeremiah Love wore number 4.
Correct.
Last year. Should there be a 1-year waiting period for an incoming freshman to get a number like that, when like the outgoing guy is who he is?
I respect the question, but I would also say I'm not surprised that number went to an incoming freshman, because that number is going to hang on the sidelines most of the time. And so it's almost like a self-imposed year wait.
That's actually a really good way of looking at it, Vince.
Yeah.
That's like the first good spin I've heard from you today.
I'll take it. Because a lot of times you do see like guys who left for the NFL or whatever, and they were really successful. A lot of times their number ends up on an incoming freshman.
Yeah.
And so they're on the sidelines, so you don't really see them for a while.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like Colorado where you just retire a guy's number because he was there for a couple of years.
I still can't believe that, by the way. It's like I can, but I can't. Like, wow. Okay.
Right.
Anyway.
Right. And I just felt like it was worth asking. I'm not saying that I'm wholeheartedly committed to it, because there are only so many jerseys, numbers to go around and that kind of stuff.
There's 200. There's 200 because you get both sides of the ball. That's and true. 0. So there's 200 numbers that are available.
Well, but for a receiver, it's a lot more limited than that. Like it's still.
Well, it's more limited, but you could be 0 through 49, and you could be, 80 to 99.
That's very true. I forgot about the 80s. Like once you get up there, like you could still.
That's old school, baby.
80s. I was going to say that's the other part of it. Receivers aren't even wearing 80s anymore.
No,
it's all single digits and.
Yeah, single and the teens is really all. I mean, realistically,
that's a good way of looking at it, though, because and it's not to slight, Frazier, but it is a guy who might not see the field quite as much as a true freshman, So that's who you get it, and then he kind of earns his way back on, and by that time there is a little bit of separation.
Now, what I will say is a single digit for a freshman, that's legit. So I mean. Whether he's going to be on the sideline or not, that's still legit that you got number 4. Like that's a cool number, regardless of who wore it last year. That's still a good number.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Fill in the blank. It's blank that Marcus Freeman told Kay Adams on the Up and Adams podcast that he's never been to the linebacker lounge, but he has an agreement with Shane Gillis, comedian Shane Gillis, that when Notre Dame wins the national championship, those two are going to go to the linebacker together.
It's hilarious. Because look, am I surprised that he's never been to the linebacker? No, I am not surprised. It's a dump. Like it's you stick to the ground. If you value your personal space, there is none.
True. That's like the first thing that you notice. Like your feet, it's like you're walking on fly paper. When you walk through there.
Correct. Not now. Look, is it tradition? Is it you got to say you've been there? All those things, absolutely. And it's completely different on like a Wednesday at 1:00 when all the old timers are in there eating a sandwich after golf. You know what I mean? True. But at night, it's a different scenario in there. I was never a huge fan because I do value personal space a little bit. And it's wall to wall human beings.
Yeah, and I think I've only been in there. Like I've been in there a few times.
Yeah,
but, like most of the times are kind of what you're saying. Like even like a Saturday afternoon before it gets busy.
right.
Go in there in that little back room and shoot a game of pool and have a beverage or two or something like that. But yeah, like game night or Saturday night or whatever, it's that's a completely different vibe in there. And why would Marcus Freeman want to go in there and body surf through the crowd?
Seriously, and you want to talk about lack of personal space. I mean, it's Marcus freaking Freeman. Like he walks into a door, everybody's going to know who he is. He's going to have zero personal space, and it's not a big building. Like there's really nowhere to go and hide. You know what I mean? So I'm not surprised he hasn't been there. But can you imagine what it would be if he shows up with Shane Gillis, by the way?
Oh, I know.
After they win a national championship, like, oh my goodness.
The question is going to be, because I thought, the funny part of this whole conversation that, because Kay Adams came to a Notre Dame game last year and she went to the linebacker and she said she walks in the linebacker and who's behind the bar pouring a beer? But Joe Montana. Joe Montana's back there pouring a Guinness when Kay Adams walked in. So is it going to be Shane Gillis and Marcus Freeman walking in arm in arm to the linebacker after they win the national championship? And there's old Joe behind the bar tending bar for everybody. Like that would set the place on fire right there.
Oh my goodness. I think the two of them should just hop behind the bar and just start pouring drinks for everybody. Like it's on the house.
Because it feels like that's what needs to happen. If those two are going to go in after they win a national championship, it's like no one's paying for a drink that night.
No.
Right?
Gosh,
like
no.
Marcus Freeman and Shane Gillis have got the tab for the evening.
It's like John Lester buying beers for everybody when he signed for the Cubs.
There you go.
Like I think it was at Bleachers. Like that's what you do. You know what I mean? Like you go in there and they'd be there for an hour just slinging some suds. That would be kind of cool. They're not just going to go in there on a random Saturday night and just start, get on the dance floor and just start getting after it. Like that's not going to happen. But
and I feel like you don't announce it either. But like maybe, if it had, so you go in unannounced, but then obviously it becomes a social media thing and you see how many people flock to try to get there.
Oh my gosh. It'd be crazy.
I know.
Let me tell you one place I would not be because that would be nuts. Nuts. I don't like people, Sean. I don't like them.
I'm trying to count the people in my head who I know would be there. So
it's high. It's a high number.
Much younger than either you or me. I'll tell you that much too. Dwayne says we have obviously never been to the original Senior Bar. Classic, stick to the floor or fall through a hole in the floor.
I was alive.
On campus, the Senior Bar?
Yeah, and it's where where Legends is now.
I was going to say I'd heard of it, but by the time I moved to town, Legends was already there. Yeah. So
I don't know when they got rid of Senior Bar, but I'm pretty sure it was not in my lifetime.
Yeah. From what I understand, Legends a completely different vibe than the Senior Bar.
Yes, I don't know that it's the original building. It might be, but I don't know if they raised it completely, built something else, or if they retrofitted. I don't know, but I know that's where it used to be. Maybe Dwayne can help us out with that.
No, interesting. USMA 87 says the NCAA has recommended starting football a week earlier, finish the weekend after Thanksgiving. Okay.
I did see something about that when I was searching for the South Bend Cubs stuff. Nicole Arbach tweeted it an hour ago.
All right. Save that one for tomorrow.
I'll throw it to you. I'll send it to you. That way you got it.
Yeah. Always need some Friday content. Well, back to some basketball. Former Notre Dame guard Jalen Harrelson is committed to Tennessee. And, of course, Marcus Burton has committed to Indiana, and Cole Serta signed with Clemson. So those are the big three. Which of those three is going to be playing the longest next season?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, IU has almost, from what I can gather, they've flipped their roster a little bit. They think they've signed 4 or 5 guys from the portal. So they're a completely new team, and I'm not really sure what to anticipate. I think I saw
today they've got the number 1 ranked portal class as of right now.
Getting Marcus Burton was big to that, obviously. Mm-hmm. I know they signed a big kid out of SMU. They signed a kid from, I want to say, Georgia Tech. and they got the kid that was riding the bench at Duke. I know those 4 for sure.
Yeah.
So they could be good. Depends on how they mesh. All of those things.
That's a mix of experience and
right.
Like
Tennessee
potential.
Was in the playoffs this year. They were in the tournament this year, correct?
Correct.
And I believe Clemson was 5th in the ACC, so they were obviously in the tournament as well. I'm gonna go with Tennessee. I think they'll be in it the longest. I don't have a whole lot of faith in IU basketball right now.
That's where I'm going as well. I think it's going to be Tennessee. Like of the 3, I definitely believe more in Rick Barnes than any of them. I put him on my
that's true
tier of our coaches yesterday when we were talking about like top coaches in the country yesterday. And as I said, I might bump him for Matt Painter, but he's still right in that tier. I'd put him in the top 10 coaches in the country. And he, like, of those 3, he's got the most consistency. Like Indiana in DeVries, like they can add all these guys, but now they've got to show that they can go out and do it. And Stymie says, can Burton stay healthy? That's
a great question
for him right now.
Sure.
Yep.
And look, the Big Ten it's kind of like football used to be, right? The Big Ten's a little bit more tough and maybe a little bit more physical than the ACC. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And like I said, you bring in a big portal class like that, those guys all have to mesh with each other. What does that look like? A lot of question marks. Yeah, I'm going to go Tennessee though.
That's where I'm going as well. I would go Tennessee. I'm somewhat more in on Indiana than Clemson, even though Clemson was better this year. Again, like is Clemson going to do it consistently? So I would go Tennessee, Indiana, Clemson would be my order. So that would be Harrelson, fair. Burton, and then Serta in terms of who's playing the longest next year.
I think that's fair. You gotta archive this one. We gotta figure out who's right. We gotta wait a year. But
I know. All right, flip side. After losing those 3 guys, Notre Dame has so far signed Logan Duncombe from Winthrop and Ethan Roberts from Penn, the Penn Quakers. That says what to you, Vince?
It says that they've got a lot more work to do because they got a lot of roster to fill at this point, and they only have 2 guys, and the portal's been open for a week and a half. So it's a little concerning. Now, will they end up having a roster? Of course they will. They're going to find somebody to fill the roster and put the uniform on. But the fact that they've only signed 2 guys, and those 2 guys have come from the schools that they've come from, it's concerning / expected.
And they're one and done guys, as Stymie says. They're grad transfers, so they're not going to be, either one of them are 2-year guys, which is, just is what it is. Shrewsbury continues to do a pretty good job of high school recruiting. I think this is going to be very critical for him, this juncture that he's in right now, in terms of the guys he is bringing in from high school, because as we've talked about, he's going to have his 2 sons, one a freshman and one a senior, on the roster. And then you've got, the 2 brothers, one of them being an adopted brother coming in and being a project as well. And then you've got a couple of grad transfers. So like, it says to me that when you weigh the losses and the incoming guys, the unfortunate thing right now is Notre Dame has become a feeder for other Power 4 programs with much bigger aspirations based on the talent that is subtracted in going to these other schools. When you're talking about Harrelson, Burton, and Serta, because they're all getting, pretty nice paydays by going and doing that at other places. And then you've got these guys coming in, Duncombe and Roberts, who were good at the level that they played at. But now you're asking them to step up and put up, at least somewhat comparable numbers in production against ACC competition. And
look,
that's concerning.
Look, if they were going to be pieces to a roster, if all 3 of those guys that transferred out were still here, and they were bringing these guys in the portal to be veteran pieces, okay, cool. I have no problem with that. Let's roll.
But you're asking them to be cogs instead.
Correct. Big difference. So again, we'll see what this class rounds out to be, this portal class. But as of right now, they got a lot more work to do.
Absolutely. And, like I said in the first hour, I hope that we see some athleticism that they're able to sign, with the next couple of guys that they add, because like 6'10", you get what you get. You needed a big guy. And so you're bringing in a big guy with, who's got some proven production, not just as a rebounder, but as a scorer as well. And Roberts can shoot, but you need some athleticism around it. Like the Shrewsburys are going to have some of that. Sanderson will have some of that, but you've got to have some explosiveness, and that's they had some of it the last couple of years. They're losing a lot of it.
Yeah, they
but
are.
Like when you look at the end of the Bray era, that was something that was sorely lacking, and they've got to be able to find that now someplace.
Yep, they need a slasher. They need an on-ball defender. They need things like that. And are you going to put all your chips on the freshman Harrelson? To be that guy? I don't think that's a smart move. But at this point, do you have a choice? And again, we're going to see what they end up with because they're going to sign more guys out of the portal. They have to. I don't have a choice because I think right now they've got.
I think they're going to get at least 2 more. I think they're at least 2 more is what I've heard at this point. So
because they've got the 3 freshmen, they got Shrewsbury, they got the 2 kids they just signed. That's 6. Who else was still on the roster at that point? Right there's a couple guys. I think
there's like 3 walk-on type guys.
Okay,
who are left. So I mean, that tells you right there.
I'm kind of hoping that they sign about 3 or 4 more guys from a numbers standpoint. Yeah. They can't even scrimmage at this point.
Yeah, a lot of work to do. But you knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
When you lost those kind of guys in the portal. Because obviously it's not just those 3, Sir Muhammad and, the other guys as well. Dwayne says the old Senior Bar, last 2 songs of the night, Paradise by the Dashboard Lights, Meatloaf, and My Way, Sinatra. This had to be sometime in the 80s, I'm imagining, that this was taking place if those songs were the closing songs of the night. That would be my guess. 70s.
Yeah.
70s, 80s, somewhere in that range.
Well, apparently, I just looked it up. Senior Bar closed in 2003, Sean.
Oh, wow.
So you and I were both around. Didn't know about it.
I don't remember that. But again, it's not like I was frequenting, so wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, it was in an old brick house, it says, and they replaced it in 2003 with Legends, as we had said, and Legends is exactly 100 yards away from Notre Dame Stadium.
Man, I swore that Legends had been around.
Me too.
Was here when I got here, but I got here in 2000, so that was only 3 years before that. But
still, I feel like I should have remembered a big brick house.
Yeah, I mean, you were going to school across the street over there at Holy Cross. So
I've never heard of it. I don't know. No, my bad.
It's not having enough fun, man.
I guess not. I definitely knew about the linebacker when I was in school.
I bet you did.
Just saying that. I'll leave it at that.
I got a baseball question for you. We don't talk a ton of baseball.
Let's go
on the show. We don't talk enough. John Smoltz is Fox's lead baseball analyst. So in a broadcast last weekend, Smoltz questioned whether a batter should ever challenge the first pitch of an at-bat, with the new ABS challenge. Do you buy or sell Smoltz's position on that?
I really kind of sat and thought about this one because I saw this question a couple of days ago, and at first I was like, I'm not agreeing with John Smoltz. But then I was kind of like, you know what? It actually makes sense. And here's why. You only get 2 if you lose them, right? If you win, you continue to have 2 in the bank. But why would you waste that on a first pitch? I don't think I would waste it on a first pitch. I really don't. There's so much at bat left at that point. I wouldn't waste it. I really wouldn't.
I understand that. But at the same time, I mean, Smoltz has got to know as a pitcher, there's a big difference between 1-0 and 0-1. As a pitcher, you get strike 1 on the batter, that just sets up everything that's to come. Whether it's curveball, off speed,
sure,
you can get to that stuff a lot sooner if it's 0-1 as opposed to 1-0. So I guess I get what he's trying to say. It's like the first pitch, and as you said, there is still so much more to come. why not save it if it's a 2-2 count for potentially bailing you out from strike 3 if it's called. But as a batter, I would want to start that at bat 1-0 as opposed to 0-1. And the flip side for the pitcher. So that's why I disagree with what Smoltz is saying.
Here's how I would handle it, honestly. I would handle it like a 3-0 count. Normally on a 3-0 count, you don't swing, right? You're like, why would I swing? You got to make me, put it in the end, put it in the zone, blah, 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 blah. But there are times where you get the green light, and if you see a big fat one come down the middle, you're going to take a hack at it. I would treat it like 3-0. Most of the time, I'm not challenging the first pitch of the at-bat. If there's a chance where I think this is going to be kind of a game-changing moment, or this is a game-changing at-bat, and every pitch counts, and those kinds of things, then I'm going to give you the green light to challenge. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it might depend on who the pitcher is as well. Like if it's Paul Skeens, if it's Paul Skeens, or like someone in of that caliber, sure, I'm probably more apt. It's like I need to make sure that I start off ahead as opposed to
I get that. So I think it's situational. But I think in my mentality, more often than not, I'm not going to do it. But I think there are times where you could do it.
I see that. I see, as a blank. I think the important thing is it's not a blanket statement,
right?
Whatever it happens to be.
I mean, listen, in baseball, is there really any blanket statement that you can make? You know what I mean?
I know. I don't think there's anything that you can say definite you're going to do in this situation. But old school guys like Smoltz, I do think see a lot of things like that in black and white.
You don't bunt when there's a no-hitter on the line, just a million different unwritten rules.
Which I would agree with. I would agree with that.
I get it.
Unless it's a 1-0 game and you're, at that in the
you need to move a runner over, or
at that point
we're trying to win here.
Trying to win a game. That's right.
Right. Yeah. So again, that's an unwritten rule that there's a blanket there, but there's a little corner we're going to peel up,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I saw somebody ask Stuart Mandel this one in one of his latest mailbags in The Athletic. They said Indiana, Michigan, and UCLA combined to win national titles in football, men's basketball, and women's basketball this year. If you just woke up from a 10-year coma, how many guesses would it take for you to correctly guess which team won the title?
Probably 3, because I'd have to move them all around a couple times.
Right. Because you would assume that Indiana won the men's basketball championship if this was 10 years ago.
Correct. 100%. And then it's a toss-up on the other two, potentially. Yeah. But, UCLA hasn't been good at football for a while. So, my first instinct
would still kind of be leaning more toward men's basketball probably for them because of their tradition.
Absolutely. So, my first instinct, if we're going by brand and, tradition, I would have IU winning men's basketball. I would have Michigan winning football. And I would have UCLA, I guess, winning women's basketball.
Yeah,
that's
because you've only got 3 choices. So
correct. That's what I would have done right off the top.
Yeah, I think that's probably would be my guess as well. And then,
but never how it actually went. There's no, and specifically because of IU. That's
right.
I'm sorry.
That's the thing. I mean, you've only got 3 options there, so it wouldn't take you a million guesses by any means. But because Indiana is involved, you would never say your first bet would never have been football for Indiana.
No way. That would be my third guess. Yeah, that IU won basketball or football would be my third guess out of the 3. There's no question in my mind.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, well, we're winding down here. We're getting closer to South Bend Cubs baseball coming up here in just a few minutes.
Still sunny out.
Well, I mean, that's good news. The last text that I got, it said that everything was on. So, just kind of to wrap up the biggest news. Well, I'll go with the second biggest news of the day. Notre Dame men's basketball landed a guard, Ethan Roberts, 6'5" guard from Penn. The breaking news of the day, Top Gun 3 is officially in the works. They announced it today at CinemaCon. Tom Cruise will be back as Pete Mitchell, call sign Maverick. Jerry Bruckheimer is back to produce the third installment of the franchise.
They're going to slowly leak the actors that are involved and all these different things. They're going to just try to hype this up for like the next 3 years, basically.
I know. It's exciting. I do hope, as we've talked about, I hope they don't screw it up.
I know.
Because Maverick was so good because of all of the callbacks to the first movie. And now it's like, how can you get creative, but also kind of keep some of that fun and sentimentality involved as well? Because you had you had like 30 plus years in between the first one and the second one. And now, it's going to be a lot closer for the third one.
I mean, the tear-jerking part of like Iceman and how they killed him off in the movie, obviously, and then the actor actually died, and so can't really call back to Iceman, unless they get real creative with AI.
And I was just like, who else could you bring back? There's really,
Merlin.
Who
you bring it back?
You could bring in Merlin, or what's his name? Rick Rossovich. I can't think of his Slider. Remember?
Oh.
Slider, you stink. Like that guy. I don't know. Maybe you get a few other callbacks in this one. Like maybe they're admirals or something out there somewhere.
Yeah, maybe that. I feel like that's going to the well a little too much. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's a periphery character that I don't need to go back to. I know, and that's where they ruin it for me. So I don't know.
Hopefully they've got something in the hopper where they've got a general storyline ready to go, and they're not.
I'm hoping Tom Cruise wouldn't agree to this unless it was a good story.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we will wrap it up with that. We will be back tomorrow. In the meantime, we've got South Bend Cubs baseball on the way. They are wearing those Notre Dame themed uniforms out there.
Beautiful.
Brendan and Tyler will have the call coming up next right here on Sports Radio WSBT. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com.
Size extra large.